皆様、こんにちは。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
本日はようこそお運びをいただ
Thank
き
you
まして
very
あ
much
り
for
がとうご
coming.
ざいます。ただいまより2017年度5位
The
平和
Goi
財団
Peace
フォーラムを
Foundation
開
Forum
催させていただきます。
2017 is called to
私
order.
は本日
I am
の
the
司
MC
会を務め
today.
させていただきます新田
I
直子
am
と申します。
Naoko
どうぞよろ
Nita.
しくお願いいたし
Thank you
ます。
very much for coming.
さて、本日
The
のフォーラム
theme
のテーマ
of
は
today's
自
forum
然の
is
英知です。
wisdom of nature.
私たちを取り巻く深
The
刻な
key
環
to
境問
solve
題
the
や
serious
社会
environmental
問題
problems
を
and
解
social
く鍵が
problems surrounding
実は
around
生命
us
誕生から
might be lying
38
in
億
the
年の
nature
時を経
with
た
a
自
history
然
of
界の中にあるので
3.8
はない
billion
か。
years since the birth of
そのような
life.
視点から皆様と
We'd
ご
like
一緒
to
に考
think
えてまいり
together
たいと思います。
from that perspective.
プログラムは3
The
時間
program
の予定
today
でご
is
ざい
3
ます。
hours long.
どうぞ最後まで
I
お付
hope
き
you
合
will
いいただきま
enjoy
すようよろ
the
しくお願
program
いいたし
today
ます
until the end.
それではここで
Now, on
主催
behalf
者を
of the
代表いたしまし
organizers,
て
I'd like to
ゴイ
invite
平和財団
Mr.
理事長
Hiroo
西園寺
Saionji, President
よ
of the
りご挨
Goi Peace
拶を申し上げ
Foundation,
ます。
for the opening remarks.
皆さんこんにちは。
Good afternoon.
本日は2017年度の
Thank you very much indeed
フォーラムにお越しをいた
for
だきま
coming
して
to join us for this
誠にありがとうございます。
Goi Peace Foundation
それから
Forum
今年も
2017. And this year
各国大使館
also,
から大使閣下はじめ
we have
大使館員の方にもご臨席をいただきますこと
the
を大変
attendance
光栄に思って
of
おります
various ambassadors and staff members of various embassies in Japan. That's great honor for us. Thank you so much. Looking around the world today, in the 70-plus-year post-war period, I would have to say that we are in a state of tension with extraordinarily large danger,
特に
especially
これほどまでに核の脅威というもの
the
が
threat of nuclear
高まっ
weapons
たのは
has never been as high as today.
感じます。世界中の核保有数、
The number of nuclear
あるいは破
weapons,
壊能力ということを
scale, and destruction capability of nuclear weapons
広島
around
長
the
崎に
world.
落とされた原
They
爆の日ではない
far
わけでございます。
greater than those dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So if
核が使われ
in
ると
case
いうよう
these
な状況
weapons
にな
are
れ
to
ば
be
当
used,
然それに対する
obviously
報復はある
there
でしょう
is
し、
going to be
その
retaliation.
報復の連鎖
And
と
if there
い
is
う
going
こと
to
を
be
考
a
えると
chain of such
人
retaliations,
類は非常に危機的
I
な状
would
況になる
have to say that the
と言わざるを得
humankind
ません。
would be facing a crisis.
ある専門家が
According to an expert,
核が使用された時の
well, experts have conducted some
このように
simulations
言っています。
of
ま
a
ずその
scenario
標
where
的地域
nuclear weapons are
に
used.
住んでいる人
For those people who are
地上
living
にい
on
る
the
人は
surface
即
of
死
the
するだろう
target area, they would be wiped away,
仮に
wiped out instantly.
シェルターの中に
Even if
逃げ
they
込ん
are
だとしても
able to
強
run
烈な
into a
炎
shelter,
が大気中の酸
intense
素を燃え尽くして
flames
しまうの
would
で、
consume all oxygen in the air, so they would probably suffocate to death.
そして標的地でない離れた
Those
地方
people
に
who
住ん
are
でいて
far away
そして
from the
シェルターの
target
中に
area,
入っていても
and if they stay in the shelter,
まず2週間は出てこれ
they
ない。
would probably not be able to come out of the shelter for 2 weeks after the bombing. And if they come out after 2 weeks,
ショック、
they would probably feel
精神障害を起こすだろ
a great shock and probably have mental disorders.
う。病院はない、医
There
者は
will
いない。
be no hospitals,
食べるも
no
の、水は全て汚
physicians.
染をされている。
All food and water is contaminated with radioactivity because of the destruction of the ozone
地上
layer.
にいれば
If you are on the surface of the earth for a few minutes, you would have a serious burn.
したがって地下で生活を
And therefore,
仮にそれだけの備蓄があって
if you have stockpiles of food and water,
いたとしても
and if you stayed underground,
生き延びたとしても
and if you
数
are
年
able
後
to
のうちに
survive within a matter of few years,
発症するだろう。
these people will probably develop leukemia.
そして今まで一掃されていた
And diseases such as typhoid, polio, and dysentery,
病気が
these infectious diseases will come back. And if so,
人間の
the
住む
earth
ところでは
would no longer
なるわけであります。
be a place where humankind can
それ
live,
は人間の
which would mean
滅亡を意味する
destruction of the
非常にショ
humankind.
ッキングなシミュレーションで
This is a very shocking simulation conducted by
でそのも
experts.
のの脅威というのはもちろん
Of course, we have this threat of nuclear weapons. This is a grave problem, which is a matter of life and death for the humankind on Earth. But at the same time, what I'm concerned about is the tragic experiences we have had in the past. Such memories are now gradually weakened, and people's rejection of nuclear weapons is gradually weakened, and people's awareness about nuclear weapons and nuclear armament would be numbed. That is my concern. Last year, at the United Nations, out of 193 countries, with approval from 122 countries, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted. Japan decided not to sign this treaty, which was a very regrettable decision. Normally, you would expect that Japan would be the forefront of this movement to try to eliminate nuclear weapons, because Japan is the only country which suffered nuclear bombing. But Japan did not approve this treaty, which is very regrettable and disheartening for me. Humans learn from history and learn from experience, and that is how humans make progress and evolve. Certain events that should be never repeated must be learned as lessons, not to be forgotten. We have the responsibility to tell those stories to the next generation, the younger generation. Today's forum, the main theme of today's forum is the wisdom of nature. The humankind, after the Industrial Revolution towards the end of the 18th century, we have seen remarkable progress in science and technology. And physically and materialistically, we are leading an affluent life, and we are enjoying convenience today as a result of that revolution. But on the other hand, the environment, resources, and the Earth's ecosystem is receiving a great burden as a result. That itself is a big problem with respect to the sustainability problem of the Earth as well as the humankind. So let me take a moment. We, the humans on this planet, we have had a long history of the universe, the Earth, and the history of life and the humankind. Let us take a look at where we stand in that long history. With the Big Bang, the universe came into existence 13.7 billion years ago. And 5 billion years ago, planet Earth came into being, and the first life, which was a monocellular organism, primitive bacteria, came into being 3.8 billion years ago. And we have had the period of dinosaurs, and we have seen evolution of organisms, and about 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, the ancestors of humankind, came into being, and that evolved into humans as we are today, about 10,000 to 20,000 years ago. And as I said earlier, towards the end of the 18th century, we had the Industrial Revolution, and we have a very modern civilization today. And that is where we are today. Now let me take a look at how population has changed. Towards the end of the 18th century, at the beginning of this Industrial Revolution, population on Earth was about 1.5 billion. In 1950, that grew to 2.5 billion. In 1987, 5 billion. 1999, 6 billion. And today, the population on Earth is about 7.4 to 7.5 billion. There has been a dramatic increase. By 2050, it is said that it will achieve or exceed 9 billion. And by 2100, there are projections that the population will grow to 10 billion. while we see an increase in population, the amount of resources consumed per person is also growing. Total resources consumption is now growing exponentially. Against this backdrop, there's an indicator called ecological footprint, which is a measure of how much resources we humankind are using to place a burden on the earth. If you include people in the developing nations, if people around the world start to live at a standard of life in Japan, we need 2.4 times planet Earth. And if people start to live at the living standard of the United States, we need to have 5.3 times planet Earth. If you just take a look at this number, you'll see that if we continue to live as we do today, at the current way of life that we lead, at some point in time, the Earth's physical capacity would be exceeded. So, when we think about this, are we going down the road of unsustainability, or are we going to change course towards sustainability? We are living in a major watershed. The way we think today, the actions that we take today, the decisions we make today would have a grave responsibility for our future generations. So, against this backdrop, how are we to turn this into a sustainable path? I've talked about 3.8 billion years of history of life, and there could be some hints in there. In the wisdom of nature, there may be some advice that we can take. And this time around, in this forum, we tried to focus on that point, and that is why we decided to have a forum with a theme, the wisdom of nature. The awardees of the Goi Peace Award are Mr. Kenny Ausubel and Ms. Nina Simons. A couple, for the first time, are receiving the award. And these two people, I will introduce them later on in some more detail. The environmental problems and societal problems that we face today, they are saying that the solutions could be found in nature because nature has done R&D for the past 3.8 billion years. So we could find solutions in nature. That is their belief. And they have involved people from various areas. They mobilize these people. And every year they organize a conference called Bioneers. I would like to congratulate the couple for their receiving of this Goi Peace Award, and I look forward to hearing a lot of discussions from the two winners. And this year again, we have had this international essay contest for young people. It just so happened that the theme of this concept or contest was learning from nature, which is the same theme as our forum today. Many people made entries into this contest, and Ministry of Education Award would be presented by Mr. Kazuo Todani, Vice Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. Mr. Mark Akixa would be giving us a performance of the Native American flute. Lastly, today, in order for us to overcome this unprecedented crisis, there's a lot of attention focused on political power, economic power, military power, and deterrence power. A lot of focus is on solutions through power relationships. But more than that, what we need is Each one of us, citizens, will have to play a role to the extent possible towards peace. I strongly feel the need for that. At the Goi Peace Foundation, in the capacity in the private sector, we try to educate people's awareness about peace, and we try to create networks to bring together wisdoms to make a contribution to create peace in the world. I do hope that you will continue to give us your support. And with this, I would like to conclude my opening remarks. Thank you very much for your attendance today.
Now, the first part of the program is the Voices of Youth. At the Goi Peace Foundation, as a part of our education program for the youth, every year we hold an international essay contest for young people. With the support of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, Japanese National Commission for UNESCO, Japan Private High School Federation, Tokyo Metropolitan Board of Education, NHK and Nikkei Inc. And also we have cooperation from Felissimo Corporation and Seiko Holdings Corporation. This contest is an activity of a UNESCO Global Action Program on Education for Sustainable Development, as the foundation is a partner of UNESCO. Today, we asked for essays under the theme of learning from nature. Modern civilization developed by controlling nature and abusing resources. However, human beings are a part of nature, and we can learn many things from nature. What should humans learn from nature, and how should that be used for the future? For that question, we received more than 15,000 entries from 155 countries of the world. We have the two first prize winners from the children's category and the youth category. The two of them are receiving the Minister of Education Award. First, for the children's category, the winner is Miss Neda Schmidt, 12 years old. She goes to an elementary school in a small city called Modrica in Bosnia, Herzegovina. She studied English for 9 years and Germany for 3 years, and she enjoys playing the piano and basketball. Her dream is to become a doctor to help the lives of many people. This time, she traveled to Japan with her school teacher. And the next prize winner of a youth category is Miss Neha Rawat, 22 years old. She now lives in the Banaras along the Ganges in northern India. She studies forensic science at a master's course of a graduate school of Banaras Hindu University. Ever since she was a university student, she was active in regional contribution activities like teaching to poor children for free, and she wants to work to contribute to the society. Now, I would like to ask the two of them to present their prize-winning essay. First, Neda.
Konnichiwa, or as it's said in my language, Dobar dan. It's an honor to stand here and to represent my school, my town, and my country. Thank you for this great opportunity. And now I'm going to read my winning essay named Learning from Nature. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu. In schools, we study about nature like it is something separate from us. That is not true, because we are part of nature. People try to use nature for their own needs. They act like they are masters, and nature is their slave. They just take and take from nature and nothing giving back. That is a shame, because nature can serve as a wonderful classroom. From the moment we open our eyes for the first time, we are learning constantly. Nature can be our greatest teacher. We don't spend as much time outdoors as previous generations did. Nature can teach us about life, how to live easier, healthier, and meaningful life. Like a caterpillar transforms to a butterfly, people go through similar changes. That process is something we all go through. We can't avoid it. We can just learn something from it. As caterpillar becomes beautiful butterfly, people through learning, upgrading, and grooming their personality become better human beings. The biggest problem in today's society is loneliness. People are too obsessed with modern technologies. We live in virtual world and not living real lives. We all lost touch with people. There are no real friends. We would rather be on our phones than living our lives. The thing that we should do is to unite and make the world better. We can't achieve anything if we are alone. One drop of water doesn't mean anything, but little drops make the mighty ocean. That means that we, as individuals, can't make big change, but when we are together, we can change the world. Our generations are selfish. We care just for ourselves and our lives. We often forget that we are all humans, sharing similar worries, and leaning on other people and believing in their kindness can make our life easier. We should look up to wolves. Wolves live in packs. They are caring, playful, and above all devoted to their families. We often hear the phrase lone wolf. A lone wolf is someone who is individualist, independent, and uncompromising. In reality, few wolves live like this. Wolves, males and females, go through periods alone, but they always come back to something greater than itself, a pack. Wolves hunt together, take care for each other. If they are injured, they don't leave each other. Their friendship lasts whole life. If they cooperate, they succeed. If they are alone, they suffer. On the other hand, people are not like that. We can learn a lot from wolves. All people go through turbulent periods in their lives. In that periods, people react differently. Some of them try to find solutions for their problems, and some of them are not brave enough. They go through phases of depression, sadness, and they do some things they regret later. Our lives aren't just about sunshine and rainbows, so the nature isn't like that also. Sometimes beautiful weather turns into the horrible storm. But in nature, animals do not panic. They find shelter and wait. They know storm will end and they will be safe. Do you know a story about two boxes? On deathbed, a father gave his only son two boxes. One was black and the other was white. He said to open a white one when he has a difficult time in his life, and the black one in the moments of the greatest happiness. During the floods, when he lost all, he opened the white box where was written, "This will pass." Later in life, when he had everything, he opened the black box where was written, "And this will pass also." Nothing lasts forever. One Latin proverb also says panta rei. Just look nature. There is nothing constant. Everything changes. Seasons change, day and night. Climate change. People should not be desperate in hard situations, but be aware that everything will pass. Now, just stop for a minute and forget about your busy life. You need time just for yourself. Open the door, go outside, and see what you can learn from nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To learn from wolf, that is a very good story. Next, I'd like to ask Neha to read her essay.
Namaste. I'm Neha from India, and I'm honored to represent my country and to speak in this forum. Here is my essay titled The Mulberry and Me. Have you ever felt like you have hit the rock bottom? Like there is no hope for survival? I did. I think everyone goes through that phase when life seems to be going through hell, when it feels like your world has been burned down to ashes. And no, in reality, the phoenix just doesn't rise back from the ashes. In medical terms, a sustained feeling of this kind is referred to as depression. I have had a phase of depression. Every little thing seemed to be beyond my control. Exams, family, and friends. Every issue related to each one of them supposedly enhanced its might to be too big to be handled by me. And eventually, I found myself spending my days staying gloomy and doing nothing. Life seemed meaningless and as negative as possible. My favorite hobbies suddenly lost all their charm. I used to stare at the blank ceiling most of the times. Life would have been similar if I had not drifted my sight from the ceiling to the skylight of my room. I could see a tree there, no leaves, no signs of life at all, just like me. I found some peace in knowing that I have a companion in this being lifeless game. It was a mulberry tree. I called it the mulberry. I had a new thing to do now, stare at the mulberry and ponder, why is it not dead yet? Why had my mom not cut it yet? Why was it still there if there is no life in it? I thought it will fall someday by itself, and then I'll lose my new friend. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. One day I noticed a lots of green bumps on it, sprouting little leaves and mulberries. I wondered how it could bear fruits all over it right after coming from the dead. In the upcoming days, I saw the lifeless tree turning into the most beautiful thing ever. It was all green and laden with sweet fruits. There were bees and birds and squirrels and so many other creatures on it. I still don't know what the right word for that feeling is. That day, the mulberry taught me how the life rises from the dead. The mulberry was my phoenix. Even when it appeared dead, it was a cradle of life all the time. It was just a matter of seasons. Sometimes life has to get on the back seat, but that doesn't mean it's not there. My perspective changed altogether. If a plant can come back to life, what's stopping me then? Life has been happier and I have been stronger since then. As I write this, the mulberry is still there out of my window, maybe checking on me. As I paid some attention, I realized that all that nature knows is to live like there's no tomorrow. No matter what, the plants and the animals, even the littlest of them all, just don't know how to give up. As I learned about depression, I was startled to know that there are so many people going through it. As I write this, a lot of people would have taken their lives because they could not hold on to hope till the change of seasons. By 2050, it's supposed to be the largest cause of deaths. Yes, it will surpass the big bad cancer and the mighty AIDS. I wish the mulberry could talk and I could let everyone hear its story of rising back from the dead. Life can never be bad enough to be worth taking our own lives. A tree or a puppy can help us learn how good the life is if we let it, as the mulberry taught me. Now, I work to help those fighting with depression. Nothing can match the joy of seeing someone learning to laugh again. Yes, the phoenix does rise back. I believe that we have to choose our battles. This is mine, helping others fight depression. If I could make even a single person see the life in the dead tree, it will all be worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Her viewpoint was so beautiful. The essays of the two winners are included in your material. Please take a look. We would continue with the awarding ceremony. I would like to call upon Mr. Kazuo Todani, Vice Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, to present the Minister of Education Award to the two winners. Mr. Todani, please. Please present the award. Certificate of Commendation, Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology of Japan hereby confers first prize in the children's category upon Neda Simic in recognition of her outstanding achievement in the 2017 International Essay Contest for Young People organized by the Goi Peace Foundation. Minister of Education, Yoshimasa Hayashi. Certificate of Commendation, Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology of Japan hereby confers first prize in the youth category upon Neha Rawat in recognition of her outstanding achievement in the 2017 International Essay Contest for Young People organized by the Goi Peace Foundation. Minister of Education, Yoshimasa Hayashi. Congratulations to the winners. Now that I would like to ask Mr. Todani to give us a few words. Mr. Todani, please. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Kazuo Todani, Vice Minister of Education. Today, I would like to offer my congratulations to the Goi Peace Foundation Forum 2017 being held in such a grand fashion. This international essay contest for young people has the theme of learning from nature. And from around the world, from 155 countries from the world, about 15,000 entries were made. And the first prize winners are Ms. Neda Simic and Ms. Neha Rawat. We just heard them read out their essays. Ms. Neda Simic talked about the problems of modern society where human relations have become weak. She talked about the way that wolves help each other out and talked about the importance of human relations. Ms. Neha Rawat. She talked about the time that she wasn't sure what is the meaning of life, and she looked at the mulberry tree, learned the value of life from that tree, and she's now helping other people who are having that problem to teach them, let them know the importance of life. What is common between them is that there is a lot that we can learn from nature, and that if humans face nature squarely, we can learn a great deal from nature. This would lead to people connecting with each other to build a better future in the world. In this international essay contest for young people, every time I hear that such moving essays are entered into this contest, I do hope that from young people around the world who will be agents for change in the next generation, they come together to build a human society where each one of them can shine, to build peace in the world. That is my wish, and I would like to conclude my remarks by offering my congratulations. Thank you very much, Mr. Todani. In addition, in this essay contest, children's category, from Vietnam, Le Wan Mai, and from Japan, Chiaki Oyadomari, won the second prize. And in the youth category, Itsuki Umino and Anna Grigoria won the second prize. And today, from Taira Junior High School of Miyakojima City, Okinawa, Ms. Chiaki Oyadomari is with us. Can you rise, Ms. Oyadomari? Let us congratulate her with a big round of applause. Five third prize winners are on the screen. Their winning essays can be found in your material as well as on the website of the Goi Peace Foundation. Congratulations to all the winners.
Next, we are going to introduce the 2017 Goi Peace Award laureates. President Saionji, please. The 2017 Goi Peace Award laureates will be introduced. The Goi Peace Award is presented to individuals and groups from sectors of education, science, culture, and arts with outstanding contributions to peace and harmony to the Earth's and mankind's future, and also to honor their research and activities sharing the same direction with the Goi Peace Foundation's vision and principle under its declaration for all life on Earth. The Goi Peace Award in 2017 went through a strict and fair selection among the members of screening committee and was decided to be awarded to Mr. Kenny Ausubel and Ms. Nina Simons, American social entrepreneurs and pioneers of sustainability. In 1990, they established a non-profit organization, Bioneers, and for 28 years, every year they have been holding a Bioneers conference, which is America's largest environmental conference, where innovators of vital sectors gather, like scientists, engineers, indigenous leaders, activists, thinkers, educators, and business leaders. The basic thought of Bioneers is that nature has its own healing power, and we should learn from nature and ecosystem and protect the biological and cultural diversity, and by doing so, it is possible to restore a healthy global society. They are shedding light with innovative ideas to resolve the environmental and social problems that we face. And they are sending the message to a world of hope that it is possible to realize a sustainable new future. They hold a main conference in San Rafael, California, and satellite conferences is held simultaneously in 18 cities in the U.S. And they also have popular radio series and internet, and through that they connect millions of people as Bioneers community. They have been developing the sprout of social reform through holistic approaches like women and youth leadership, indigenous wisdom, food safety, or community regeneration. This is a vision in common with the Goi Peace Foundation's vision, aiming at creating a new civilization by joining the new wisdoms in a variety of sectors. The Goi Peace Award is awarded to honor their achievements, leading for many years the movement towards the co-creation of global society in harmony, which is sustainable, based on a clear vision and a deep insight to nature. Congratulations. Now we are going to move to the award ceremony. The laureates of the 2017 Goi Peace Award, Mr. Kenny Ausubel and Miss Nina Simons. Please welcome them with a big round of applause. The Goi Peace Award will be presented by Mrs. Masami Saionji, Chairperson of the Goi Peace Foundation. Please, Mrs. Saionji. Diploma of Merit. The Goi Peace Foundation is privileged to confer the Goi Peace Award upon Kenny Ausubel and Nina Simons for their pioneering work with Bioneers to promote nature-inspired innovations for restoring the earth and for our human community by bringing together innovators from all walks of life to co-create a more sustainable and harmonious future based on values of justice, diversity, democracy, and peaceful coexistence. So this is to congratulate your achievements in the area of activities that you have conducted November 25, 2017. Masami Saionji, Chairperson, Hiroo Saionji, President, the Goi Peace Foundation. Congratulations. The laureates, Mr. Kenny Ausubel, Ms. Nina Simons, congratulations. Now I'd like to invite the two of them for their speech. The title of the presentation is The Bioneers, Revolution from the Heart of Nature and the Human Heart.
Subarashi Sho wo Arigato.
Thank you for the wonderful award.
I accept this great honor on behalf of the Bioneers community. That's what Bioneers is about, a community of leadership in a time when we are all called upon to be leaders. Today's wicked problems are far too big and complex for any one person to solve. At this time, leadership arises in and from community. As it is in nature, there may be dazzling soloists, but in the end, it's all about the symphony. But Bioneers did not begin as a community. I will share our creation story. Bioneers originated in 1990 in a Japanese-style hot tub facility called 10,000 Waves high in the mountains above Santa Fe, New Mexico, near where I live. I was visiting with a friend and investor in Seeds of Change, the organic seed company I had just started. The company's mission was to help revive agricultural biodiversity because diversity is the very fabric of life itself and the fabric of nature. It's nature's fail-safe mechanism against extinctions, the source of innovation and regeneration. I was enthusing to my friend about all these amazing people I'd been finding who had devised authentic solutions to many of the world's major crises. It had long been clear the world was on a collision course with nature and with each other. I wanted to do something about it. So as a citizen and as a journalist, I'd been looking around to learn who might be out there in the world developing real solutions. One by one, I began finding breakthrough social and scientific innovators with both visionary and practical solutions. I started to see some common threads. First, they were all systems thinkers. They recognized the interconnection of disparate issues, and they developed solve-the-whole-problem approaches. Second, they looked to nature, not as a physical resource, but as model, mentor, and metric. The solutions in nature, they said, surpass our conception of what is even possible. There's nothing like having 3.8 billion years of research and development at your back. So I was in the hot tub celebrating these visionary innovators, Bioneers I called them, and I was complaining about how nobody had ever heard of them. If only the world knew, it would leverage the pressure for change. My friend said, why don't you have a conference? I had never been to a conference and it sounded really boring. I just kept talking about these Bioneers until he stopped me in mid-sentence and said, Kenny, I'm giving you $10,000, have a conference. That's how Bioneers began. I quickly shared the idea with Nina Simons, who by then was serving as marketing director of Seeds of Change, of the Seeds of Change company. Nina and I had connected 3 years earlier in 1987 when a mutual friend invited us both to dinner. We quickly fell in love and began working together immediately on a movie at that time that I was finishing. Nina had a background in film and theater, and she was a natural communicator. She loved the idea of a conference and offered to produce it with me. Thank you, Nina. As communicators, we knew from the beginning that we had to get these voices of the Bioneers out there into the world. But what it took us years to understand was that connecting people with each other and connecting otherwise isolated work across diverse issues were equally important. Out of that grew the Bioneers community, a diverse network of networks. The annual conference grew from 250 people to over 3,000 now each year, along with a lot of media that we produce. Fast forward 28 years, many of these ideas and practices are now entering the mainstream or beginning to influence the mainstream. As Bioneers has shown since 1990, the solutions are largely present or we know what directions to head in. As the state of the world has plunged from urgency to emergency, we can move from breakdown to breakthrough. We can shift our course to reimagine how to live on Earth in ways that honor the web of life, each other, and future generations. The coming years will be the most important in the history of human civilization. This now is the decisive window to make the shift, and it is actually happening. Around the world, in diverse fields of endeavor, social and scientific innovators such as the Bioneers have been developing and demonstrating far better technological, economic, social, and political models. Human creativity focused on problem solving is eclipsing the mythology of despair. This shift also inspires a change of heart that honors the intrinsic value of all life and of our human diversity. This age of nature calls for a new social contract of interdependence. Taking care of nature means taking care of people, and taking care of people means taking care of nature. It's a revolution from the heart of nature and from the human heart. Fortunately for us, nature has a profound capacity for healing, and we're learning how to work with nature to heal nature and to heal our human communities along with it. Resilience is the grail, enhancing our ability to adapt to the dramatic changes that are coming and to design our ways of living for the long haul. Bioneers gathers and cross-pollinates a unique network of networks to engage people to actually implement these large-scale shifts. We connect diverse issues, movements, cultures, and people from many backgrounds and walks of life. We're cultivating a global wisdom culture with an expanded sense of kinship that embraces our human diversity and celebrates the oneness of life's diversity. We're working to rapidly spread, adapt, and scale these abundant models and solutions that already exist. It's bottom-up and top-down, all hands on deck to generate the biggest and fastest economic, industrial, political, and cultural transformation in human history. It comes down to growing the national and global movement of movements that are working for 100% clean energy, ecological agriculture, green design, biomimicry, watershed restoration, social and economic justice, racial and gender justice, and democratic governance. I'd like to share a few stories. Paul Stamets is the quintessential Bioneer who's looked to the natural world for guidance. His work developing fungi-based mycotechnologies has shown the astonishing breakthroughs contained in nature's own operating instructions. Fungi are some of the fundamental decomposers, digesters, and recyclers of the food web that regenerate life. We also know that mushrooms can be powerful medicines for human health. Paul long wondered as an ecologist if his beloved fungi could perhaps also be medicines for restoring the land. In a succession of experiments and demonstrations, he's shown that mushrooms can purify soil contaminated with oil. They digest and transform the oil, leaving virtually no trace in the soil or in the flesh of the mushrooms. This bioremediation of soil occurs rapidly in a matter of weeks or months, not years or decades. But after they do their job, Stamets' mushrooms then showed how nature heals and restores itself. As the mushrooms decayed, worms and maggots appeared and ate them. Birds came to eat the insects and worms. The birds carried seeds on their feathers, and soon plants grew. Within a matter of weeks, the formerly contaminated dead dirt turned into a thriving oasis of life. That's restoration in real time. Just imagine if we applied this mycotechnology to decontaminating chemically farmed farmlands on large scales, or to toxic sites and brownfields. And instead of hazmat teams and engineers, all you need is gardeners. As word spread about Stamets' magical mushrooms, he received a call from the Department of Defense, the Pentagon. The US government has the world's largest stockpiles of chemical weapons, and they're decaying and degrading. The military had no good way to dispose of them without dispersing them into the environment. Could his mushrooms help remediate this deadly poison? Sure enough, 2 varieties of mushrooms completely metabolized and transformed sarin nerve gas, among the most lethal and durable toxins on the planet. As the mycologist told the military, one of the active strains is native to the Pacific Northwest old-growth forest that's threatened by logging. Protecting our national forests, he told the generals, is a matter of national security. Paul has made other breakthroughs now, including an apparent solution to the bee colony collapse disorder that threatens agriculture itself. There are literally hundreds and thousands of such examples today coming out of the Bioneers community. For all the chatter about the age of information, what we're really entering is the age of nature. After all, we didn't invent nature, nature invented us. Nature bats last, the saying goes, but even more importantly, it's her playing field. We'd be wise to learn the ground rules and how to play by them. In the words of Janine Benyus, what life does is to create conditions that are conducive to life. That's a mission statement. Of course, for millennia, indigenous peoples, the world's original Bioneers, have held exactly this Gaian view. It's all alive, it's all connected, it's all intelligent, and it's all relatives. Biomimicry is the design revolution that naturalist, author, and Bioneer Janine Benyus calls innovation inspired by nature. It starts with the understanding that as human beings, we are nature. It's the illusion of separation that is our civilization's fundamental systems error. Bioneers describes life's principles this way. Nature runs on current sunlight. Nature banks on diversity. Nature rewards cooperation. Nature builds from the bottom up. Nature recycles everything. Life creates conditions conducive to life. Today, this design science of biomimicry is spreading rapidly, even among big companies, as we learn how to mimic nature's genius in our technologies, industries, economies, and even in our social systems. From spiral designs that mimic nature, the spiral is nature's favorite form, and can reduce energy consumption by up to 60 to 90%, to spider webs that show how to make glass that deters birds from crashing into windows, to Namibian beetles that show how to collect moisture from the air in arid regions, to flocks of geese who take turns as the lead goose to share the stress of leadership. It's a genuine revolution in our thinking. But the challenge we face today is not primarily technological. It's a human crisis, the end game of a civilization at war with the natural world and with ourselves. We are all prisoners of war, and it is not a winnable war. To succeed, we're called upon to cooperate on a grand scale. It requires the equivalent of a wartime mobilization, but its purpose is precisely the opposite, to create peace with the land, with each other, and within ourselves. How do we get through this alive? We're not the first to ask that question. Excuse me. The late Seneca historian John Mohawk, who was a Bioneers board member and my mentor, reminded us that the Iroquois Confederacy of Indian Nations in the northeastern United States was forged out of cataclysmic war. He told the story this way. There was an individual born among the Hurons in the Great Lakes region of North America who grew up in a society that was each against all. Blood feuds left not only villages fighting villages, but individual households fighting individual households. Violence ruled the day. Not unlike the 21st century, it was a time of absolute horror and degradation of the human soul. This young man, not yet 20 years old, had an insight. He said, violence is a really bad idea. He went to the people and he stated, you have to stop these cycles of violence. These cycles of violence were embedded deep in the laws and customs of the Indian peoples. They were about revenge for real and imagined injuries. This young man, who became known as the peacemaker, said that war makes people crazy. When people are at war, they're not thinking clearly. His argument was this: we don't need to live this way. We have the power in our collective minds to create a world in which people do not use violence, but rather use thinking. He went from village to village, and he persuaded people that we must have a pact against violence. Of course, when you walk into a village and you say, we have to put down our weapons of war and have peace, they're going to say, not till the other guys do. To which you say, okay, let's go talk to the other guys. Until someone says, can't talk to them, they're all crazy. So the peacemaker responded, when you tell yourself your enemy can't think, you destroy your own power to make peace with him. In order to use our minds to solve problems, we have to first acknowledge that the people on the other side of the negotiation probably want their people to live and probably want a lot of the same things you do. So it starts by looking for common ground with your enemy. People said, we're at war with these people because they've harmed us, they've done wrong to us. The peacemaker replied that the pursuit of peace is not merely the pursuit of the absence of violence. Peace is never achieved until justice is achieved. Justice is not achieved until everyone's interests are addressed. So he said, you will never actually finish addressing everyone's issues. You can't achieve peace unless it's accompanied by a constant striving to address justice. It means your job will never end. The peacemaker said we have to build an institution to represent this. He brought together the chiefs of the warring nations, and they formed the Iroquois Confederacy. Its highly sophisticated governance became one of the inspirations for the American Constitution and US democracy. The peacemaker did not say that we'd kill each other off with weapons. He said that in the end, unless we achieve peace among ourselves, the people of the planet will be eliminated. To get through this keyhole of human evolution, we're going to have to face and heal the deep wounds in our societies and in ourselves. But how? Bioneer Ed Tick is a psychotherapist who began working in the 1970s with Vietnam veterans in the US who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Most of them were taking multiple drugs to suppress the personal hell that was haunting their lives. Ed Tick realized that PTSD was not about stress, it was about trauma. He learned that the Greek word trauma actually means a puncture, a hole, a wound. For the Greeks, it was also a spiritual wound, a hole in the soul. Tick began taking vets back to the scene of their trauma, to face and embrace their former enemies, to seek redemption in forgiveness. They began to heal the wounds to their souls. Knowing the horror, now they tried to talk people out of war. Thus, they became true warriors. On one of these truth and reconciliation journeys to Vietnam, Ed Tick and the veterans visited My Lai. Today, My Lai is a beautiful peace garden, much like Hiroshima, where people from all over the world come to learn. Before that, it was the infamous scene of the slaughter of an unarmed village by US soldiers. At My Lai, Ed Tick and the vets met a woman of 75. She was the only member of her family to survive the dreadful massacre. She lost her husband, her parents, and all her children. These are Ed Tick's words. She expressed her terrible pain at living. I said to her, "Grandmother, we're so sorry for you and your losses. How do you feel about us Americans coming back to visit you and see this place where we took so much from you?" She said, "My pain doesn't matter. It is so important that you come." And I said, "Grandmother, I can understand that, thank you. But how do you feel about our veterans coming back? Maybe they were here. Maybe they took the lives of your family or other Vietnamese people." She said, "Oh, no, no, no. You misunderstand. It's most important that your veterans come back here so that I can take their hands and look into their eyes and forgive them and help them heal." There's a place in Vietnam called Marble Mountain. It's very sacred. There's an ancient Buddhist temple on it. The Viet Cong used it as a field hospital. The US bombed it twice, but the temple is still intact and it wears its scars. Outside that temple on Marble Mountain, there's a simple wooden sign that proclaims in both Vietnamese and English these words, a Buddhist precept: "Hatreds never cease by hatreds in this world. By love they cease." This is an ancient law. The wounds we're inflicting on the earth and on each other are the same wound. Blessed are the peacemakers. Arigato.
Well, first, I must express my deepest gratitude to the Goi Peace Foundation for honoring both of us and Bioneers with this award. We accept this honor with humility and on behalf of the large and extended community of those visionaries that Kenny, back in 1990, coined a term to describe Bioneers. Thank you, Kenny. There's something mysterious to it. What we mean now by Bioneers is scientific, political, and social innovators, activists, cultural bridge builders, and leaders from many walks of life and fields of endeavor who are collaboratively contributing to the great global ecological and social and cultural transformation that's now underway. It's an enormous validation that you here at the Goi Peace Foundation, who have done so much to promote world peace and are based halfway around the globe from the US, have heard of Bioneers and perceive value in our work. Thank you. In accepting this honor, I wish to offer some reflections about what I think makes Bioneers a unique enterprise. On the physical plane, it's a relatively small nonprofit organization, but one that has developed into a key nexus point for many diverse but intersecting social movements. We seek to go beyond the idea of sustainability as a goal. Merely sustaining ecosystems and communities at their current rate of degeneration, loss, and suffering, we find too timid as an ultimate goal. We aim for a human footprint that is regenerative for all of life. We seek the restoration of health and vitality to natural systems and human communities by combining the best of ancient wisdom with the leading edge of contemporary whole systems genius. At the heart of this notion is the idea that we humans need to be humble, to become students of nature's extraordinary, sophisticated design genius. One of the foundations of our worldview is that just like in the natural world, where the most diverse ecosystems are the most resilient and vital, the human enterprise also is healthiest when it is characterized by high degrees of diversity. In our work, therefore, we have always sought to highlight a broad array of innovative approaches to solving problems, presented from differing perspectives, disciplines, generations, and cultures, including a very strong emphasis on honoring the wisdom of indigenous First Peoples and of their long-lived traditional ecological wisdom. Here in Japan, you have been able to maintain far more of a connection to your ancestral wisdom about respecting and working with nature than we have in North America, so I think we have much to learn from you in that regard. At a conference in 1994, the physicist, ecologist, and activist Vandana Shiva from India offered some crucial distinctions between a Bioneer and a pioneer. She warned that rapid scientific innovations intended to improve upon biology through agriculture posed tremendous risks. Aggressive scientists and corporations seeking to profit from poorly conceived genetic manipulation will look very much like the European pioneers. They thought that every land they conquered was empty of people, so they saw no need to respect any pre-existing rights. Those who we have called Bioneers, on the other hand, recognize that every step we take is on a full earth, populated by a tremendous variety of species and many other people. The pioneer empty land ethic, Vandana noted, leads to violence against species and to genocide. The colonizing pioneer mind assumes there are no limits to be respected, no ecological limits, no ethical limits, no limits to greed or accumulation, no limits to inequality. Whereas authentic Bioneers, she said, know that limits are the first law of nature, encoded in the ecological processes that make life possible. Limits of the nutrient cycle in soil, limits of the water cycle, the limits set by the intrinsic right of diverse species to exist set limits on our actions if we genuinely respect other beings. Ethical limits are what make us human. To be sustainable, a society must live within those limits. Vandana spoke of a Hindi word that means we are one earth family, or the democracy of life. she explained that to Bioneers, it means not just diverse human cultures, but all beings. The mountains and the rivers are beings too. We Bioneers respect all the beings, large and small, without a hierarchy of superiority and inferiority, because everything has a part to play ecologically in the web of life, even if we do not yet fully understand how. Being a Bioneer also means appreciating that just as the web of life is interconnected and interdependent, so too are all the issues we face. It became increasingly clear to me that there could no longer be any perceived separation between people and the environment. As has been said, we are a part of nature, not apart from it. Our bodies are made of the same elements, the same DNA as plants, fungi, and animals. We are all connected, both biologically and spiritually. Since the earth is a closed loop, the cup of tea that you drink today may once have been Cleopatra's bathwater. He went on to say, whoa, sorry, one moment, skipped a page. What we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. When we harm ourselves and other people, we damage the earth. Therefore, being a Bioneer must include pursuing social justice and equity for all humans, as well as protecting species and ecosystems. For the first 10 years or so, I used the term Bioneer to describe the people on stage, the presenters we invited to speak, innovators who offered brilliant new approaches and practical models of ecological or social restoration. I was unaware of my own internalized hierarchy, but all that changed when the late J.L. Chestnut spoke in 2001. He was a renowned attorney and legendary civil rights activist since the brutal struggles in the U.S. South of the 1950s, and my definition of a Bioneer expanded into something much larger. He was telling the story of winning the largest class action lawsuit in the history of America against the US government for institutional racism against Black farmers in the southeastern US. It was a powerful talk, and he did something I had never heard before. He began to use the word Bioneer to address everyone in the room. He noted that the progress that's being made slowly but surely to bring our country toward racial and social justice and true democracy was due in part to the efforts of you Bioneers, dedicated, progressive people like you. He went on to say, I raise these concerns to you because fighting on behalf of women, on behalf of minority people of color, fighting on behalf of the environment and the planet are all one big battle. We Bioneers know, he said, that violence, greed, racism, unchecked materialism, and abuse of this planet and the nature in and on it are its own form of terrorism and will eventually destroy us if we don't first put an end to it. It was a revelatory moment for me. Suddenly, the word didn't just describe the visionary speakers on stage, but applied to us all. Not only the presenters, but every man, woman, and child present, hearing our podcasts or seeing our videos, or anyone working toward healing our relationship with the earth in thousands of different ways. All our contributions, all our collective creativity and imagination were needed to remake this world. We were all Bioneers if we chose to be. We each had a role to play. As J.L. Chestnut said, the way we have treated women, people of color, indigenous people, and the earth are all just different octaves of the same legacy. We all, regardless of our many differences, bear scars from cultures that were founded on conquest, exploitation, and oppression. I began to see that we are all, in varying ways, responding to often unconscious influences and implicit biases from a legacy of disrespect and violence that manifests on all forms of society, from the personal, emotional, and physical to the economic, political, and environmental. Thankfully, we also know the power of community and connection, and we are gifted with a capacity for self-reflection and choice. Each time we relate caringly, meeting others where they are or on common ground, instead of reinforcing separation, we begin to heal and restore our social landscape. Each time we renew ourselves in nature, sensing with our full bodies, hearts, and intuitions the repair and guidance that she so abundantly offers, we help the healing happen. Over the years, Bioneers has evolved greatly, prompted in part by this understanding. We hope to educate, inspire, and ignite engaged action and leadership, while identifying and illuminating many of the most promising solutions and strategies. By juxtaposing seemingly disparate issue areas and mingling them with arts and ceremony, we help reveal how all issues are part of one dynamic, interrelated living system, which embeds us within the context of the living world. We all need each other to make the large-scale changes we face. Relationships of authentic cooperation, collaboration, and community will become absolutely critical in the years ahead because we are facing immense challenges. Bridging our differences respectfully will determine whether and how we may succeed at shifting human civilization from our current ecologically suicidal trajectory. In the past several years, I have realized that for me to be able to help create effective change out there in the world, I must also keep work on seeing and then changing myself. There have been many ways in which I have internalized the unresolved wounds and blind spots of our US culture, from gender bias to racial injustice. I am trying hard to reconcile them to make peace within myself. As I've searched for insights to help me on this quest, I've come to feel that while racial divides still rupture our societies, and I can't imagine living through the discrimination and wounding that so many minority people experience each day, the biases that privilege the masculine over the feminine create at least as great an unconscious barrier to equity and peace among people around the world as faith, race, or cultural differences. In recent years, studies have shown that globally, gender is the bias most deeply embedded in the human psyche. Like most or many women, I've experienced thousands of moments of feeling diminished, threatened, or intimidated because of my gender. Inwardly, I also see ways that I've unconsciously acquired some learned beliefs about women and limited my own options and pathways as a result. I realize that gender and race are only two of the many ways that we diminish each other and ourselves. Nearly all of us have experienced feeling slighted or disrespected somewhere, whether for our ethnicity, age, size, sexual preference, ability, class, or appearance. And while I'm inspired to see that much progress has occurred in some of these areas, we have far more work to do to heal the wounds that separate us. I believe that investing in the leadership of women and restoring the feminine to a place of equilibrium with the masculine throughout all of our lived experience as individuals, as well as in our institutions and cultures, are essential to the global transformation that we as a species are being called to make in order to shift our course to a life-affirming future on Earth. Around the globe, we see clearly that wherever the rights, opportunities, and safety of women improve, benefits result for all areas of society. As women's leadership and gender equity increase, so too do economic prosperity, public health, education, peace, and the security of nations. As women's education and reproductive rights improve globally, they will also have significant effects in curbing population growth, drawing down carbon, and slowing climate change. Now, since we've inherited some skewed stereotypes about what the masculine and feminine really mean, I would suggest we seek to identify and reclaim healthy identities that can welcome a full array of our human capacities, regardless of what our physical gender identity might be. And because we all contain masculine and feminine within us, this is ultimately about restoring our human wholeness, about practicing listening and not knowing more often than asserting that we know the answers, about evolving from power over to power with and power to co-create change. It's about trusting that leadership is often better shared and that win-win solutions frequently exist if we seek them out patiently, practicing mutual respect, patience, and trust. As indigenous peoples of Central America say, the bird of humanity has been trying to fly for far too long with only one wing. May we have the humility to listen for guidance from the land, from our ancestors, and from our bodies and hearts, as well as our minds, dreams, and intuitions. May we find the collective vision, courage, and will to decolonize our minds and hearts, reclaiming a balance of feminine and masculine, of receptive and active, of yin and yang in equal measure that flow through us each and all. May our partnership with Mother Earth, Gaia, and the sweet and salty waters that flow in her veins, the winds and clouds that caress and bathe her, and the fires that cleanse and restore her vitality, and our kinship with all the creatures, large and small, who share this magnificent home, become our devotional, long-term relationship practice. May this lead us collectively toward a world that's reinfused with a sense of the sacred, where the future children of all species live and flourish in peace, and where restorative justice, peace, health, and regeneration thrive. May it be so. Thank you so much. Arigato.
Kenny, Nina, thank you very much indeed for such insightful speeches. Thank you so much. Let us give a big round of applause to the couple. It was so beautiful. It makes us feel so happy. Thank you so much. This concludes part 1 of the program.